Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. Look, the COLA numbers are starting to come into shape, and there are predictions that are rolling in. The data is in from August. August's data came in September 13th and has been digested, and the predictions are coming in. The headline here is August CPI pushes the 2024 COLA forecast upward. So really important to follow this because we're on the tail end. We're in September. We're about almost halfway through September. And September's numbers are the last month of data that will be used to calculate the actual cost of living adjustment. Effectively, that pay increase as a result of the adjustment upward, right? So undoubtedly there will be an adjustment, and it undoubtedly will be higher. Now, over the last several months, the projections have been lower. Now they're creeping up. My thought is that the gas and oil prices, if they remain where they're at or even push a little higher, we could potentially see even higher than projected currently COLA. Now, I have a short article here that I'm just going to read to you. This one is from investmentnews.com. Please hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. This is stuff that absolutely will affect you, either your VA benefits or your Social Security or anything that's impacted by a COLA, cost of living adjustment. So jumping into it here, let's see, the Social Security cost of living COLA for 2024 will likely be 3.2% based on a jump in consumer price data through August, according to the Senior Citizens League. Now, what that would equate to, just to use the numbers that are provided here in the example, the resulting increase would raise the average monthly benefit of $1,790 by $57.30. So if you're receiving $1,790, then you would see a $57.30 increase. Now, it says here the resulting increase would make that raise. Then it states that the Social Security Administration is slated to announce the COLA for 2024 in October. And typically that's the middle of October, usually fairly quick after the CPI data is released for September, because the calculations are already in place. They already know what to use. They just need the data to plug in, and then bam, there it is. So we're probably looking at, trying to find my calendar here, October, you're looking at potentially Friday the 13th. Oh, wonderful. Great. So either Friday the 13th or, I would say definitely probably before Wednesday the 18th, but somewhere in there is what we'd probably be looking at to actually get the real end of the day numbers for COLA. Now, remember that COLA is going to be a combination of the information that's provided from the CPI data for July, August, and September. So let's finish up this article. It's pretty short here. On a relative basis, a 3.2% COLA is far lower than the 8.7% received in 2023, which, oh, by the way, you're going to hear a lot of, don't expect the high COLA. The COLA is not going to be that big. It's going to be a much lower COLA. You're going to hear that stuff because 8.7 was pretty big. So when it comes to the cost of living adjustments, but mid threes is still higher than the average. The highest COLA was that in 4 decades was that 8.7%. That said, it is still higher than the 2.6 average, right? So 2.6 is the average COLA since they've been tracking it, average over the past 20 years anyway. So I guess they've been tracking it longer than that. But the average of the last 20 years has been 2.6%. Driven by a spike in energy prices, the Consumer Price Index rose 0.6% in August. It's the biggest monthly gain of 2023 and up 3.7% from a year ago. Meanwhile, the core CPI increased 0.3% and 4.3% respectively against estimates of a 0.2 and a 4.3. The law states that the annual inflation adjustment, this is important if you're still hanging on, the law states that the annual inflation adjustment is based on the average inflation during July, August, and September, as measured by CPI for urban wage earners and clerical workers. Inflation for these 3 months is added together and averaged, then compared with the third quarter average from 1 year ago. The percentage difference between the two is the amount of the COLA, which would be payable for the check received in January 2024. Despite the record COLA in 2023, the Senior Citizen League points out that older households have reported very modest spending. In 2023, retirees received the highest COLA in 40 years at 8.7%. But nobody's getting rich, obviously, right? We can all speak to that, said Mary Johnson, Social Security and Medicare policy analyst at the Senior Citizens League, in a statement. The reality is that the dollar amount of the COLA increase received is meager at best, with the average monthly retiree benefit only $1,790 in 2023. So fairly low on the Social Security side. Now remember that most of the articles and most of the things that we see with regard to COLA are going to be pointed towards Social Security recipients. But remember that once Social Security adopts their, formally adopts their COLA, then the VA will then mirror that. So that's why this is relevant. In addition, some of the curious things, and this has kind of dropped off a little bit, but Mary Johnson over at the Senior Citizens League has many times complained about how COLA is calculated and that it is not necessarily relevant to the spending habits of our senior citizens groups, right? So what her argument is that basically there should be a new way to calculate cost of living adjustments that are more relevant and specific to the needs and spending habits of those that are receiving Social Security, which are by majority senior citizens. Now, my kind of take on that is, would veterans fall into kind of that same scenario? Would we, as veterans, have a different kind of component to our spending and needs and so forth as far as disabled veterans are concerned? And let's couple that with, there's a ton of disabled veterans receiving VA compensation that are senior citizens. So should we, as a veteran group, right, should we partner with the Senior Citizens League to work together to be able to come forward with some sort of new way of calculating COLA that's more in line with our needs? And ideally, what that does is gives us a higher increase, right? So at the end of the day, it's trying to figure out a way to get higher increases to accommodate that cost of living adjustment and keep us ahead of the inflation rate. So with that, thanks so much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.